Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Respecting the Beer. My name is Gary Arndt. With me, as usual, is Lager Claus, the man who will come down your chimney and fill your steins with beer every Lagerfest, Mr. Bobby Fleshman.
How's it going, Gary?
And also the man who, in his last will and testament, has dictated that 100 casks of 547 be entombed with him so he can join them in the afterlife, Mr. Joel Hermansen.
Thank you, Gary. I would also add, you would probably be on board with that idea, Steve. You love the 547.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right?
And we're recording this live at Lagerfest, so we have some very special guests who are here. And with us today is Steve Zink. He is are you the owner?
Owner
of Omega Brewery in Omro, Wisconsin.
Face of. Clearly.
A good face for podcasting.
Right.
We've had a lot of different brewers on the show, so why don't you start out with how you got involved in brewing?
I started brewing when, back in the 80s. So it's basically become a hobby out of control.
Just a home brewer?
Just a home brewer, really? You have to start it out like that?
Well, everyone starts as a home brewer.
It seems like every interview starts there.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I did that, and then didn't start getting interested in doing my own brewery until probably in a mid-2015 time frame, after I retired for the second time, so from the corporate world, that is. So then started the process in 2016 and bought a building and renovated it, and then we opened in 2018. And we've been open, I can't say continuously ever since, because we had COVID and construction and things like that, but we've been pretty steady there.
What sort of beer do you specialize in? If you were to say, like, what's your...
I would say the beers we specialize in would be more traditional beers. I tend to migrate towards those. I tend to research the history of those beers and try to replicate them as best I can. Sometimes I do diversions of them and try to make them different.
So no pomegranate, mango, fruit blend?
I wouldn't say none of those, but I would say...
So you and Bobby share a vision with being very traditional, real beer-flavored beer.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say yes. You know, from the beer flavor standpoint, from the history standpoint, we didn't release our Marzen beer until September 20th or September 19th, 20th of this year. We tend to coincide with the Oktoberfest spirit, where it all started in Munich, Germany. So that's when we released it, and when it's out, it's out. People ask me, how come you don't brew it year-round? I said, well, usually say that's not an Oktoberfest then. We can call it a Marzen beer, or we can do an old-style ale or something like that, similar to it, but I tend to stay with tradition.
Yeah, I believe it leaves something to wait for. It builds the hype, I think. We don't go that late into the year. I wish we could, but in distribution, when you get far enough out there, if you don't have cans on the shelf by July, you're outcompeted by all the big guys.
Yep,
it's crazy.
I agree with that.
It's nuts out there. I'm with you though in spirit. Yeah.
That's like Christmas and Halloween stuff being in the stores ever earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So Halloween was out. Halloween stuff was at Menards in July this year. Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I'm basically a Nano brewery, so I know I can sell our beer out in, probably within 6 weeks. Depending how much I make.
Can you, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about your capacity and your process?
We do between 50 and 75 barrels a year in total, so that's it right now. We have a 1-barrel system that I've modified recipes to produce 2 barrels at a time. So I typically will do a fair number of 1-barrel high gravity type systems, your imperial stouts, some of the other stuff like that. The Marzen beer, I can do 2 barrels of that. It's about ours is about 6.3%. So we did 2 barrels of that this year. We had just introduced it this year. We did a new Fest beer, which is the lighter version of what's going on in Oktoberfest. Back in the early 90s, that's when that was introduced, because it was a less filling beer, and it's gone over really, really well.
That's awesome.
That's kind of stuff we do. We'll do some triple imperial stouts, things like that. But it's all, I try to maintain a certain number of core beers that we have on, and I will never say all of the time, but I will say I try to have them on most of the time, and we rotate through 12 different taps through the course of a year, and sometimes, we run out of some of our real popular stuff, and then they got to wait 2 or 3 months till it's ready again, because depending on what beer it is, it takes 2 or 3 months to produce.
Do you sell all your beer on premises?
We do distribute to a few local restaurants in the Fox Valley area, but most of ours goes through the tap room.
But your Desert Island beer would be an IPA of some kind. Am I wrong? Or
Desert Island?
Desert Island beer. Like your last beer, only beer you could ever have again. What would it be?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're using some.
What he means is hour 5:47.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time what your favorite beer is, and I'm usually a little bit sarcastic because it'll end with the one I'm having at the time,
right,
which is the easy button. But I go through the stuff seasonally. I would say, the classic West Coast double IPA or even a triple IPA would be the one that, I would probably miss the most if I could not have it again.
For those listeners who are wondering what Steve's favorite McFleshman's beer is, I know the answer. He and I have bonded a few times over 547.
Yes.
So we can put that myth to rest.
You've been doing this for quite a while now. How many of your recipes are nailed down, or as Bobby would say, laminated, and how many do you consistently monkey with?
I would say the majority of what we have on tap is pretty solid, but I will also say that, I'm not one of the big guys, so I have some limitations with regard to getting materials for production, and sometimes I have to substitute stuff. So I will end up moving stuff around, doing things, but I generally try to get back to, I brew to specifications, and as opposed to I don't just brew a recipe and what I'll be testing it through the entire process to make sure I'm going to hit my original gravity, to hit my IBUs, to hit the color that I'm looking for. So I tweak the stuff based on the grain or the hops that I have on hand. So
you have the mindset of a German brewer in that regard.
Okay.
I would think. I mean, I don't know how Reinheitsgebot you are, but as to what ingredients you employ, but it seems like your methodology is what I would expect from a German brewer.
Yep, Reinheitsgebot, I believe in it. I've said I was a traditional brewer, but there are times that I intentionally go outside of it to do something different that I just want to try. I can't tell you what it is right now, but every now and then you just get a...
People appreciate that sometimes. Your customer base appreciates when you do something a little different.
Yep, sometimes they don't. Yeah. But that's the craft beer industry. It's people, everybody's got a different palate. People want something different. So, half the people come in and say, hey, 3 months ago I was here, I had a whatever it was, do you have that on tap? Nope, don't have anything. Do I have something like it? I might. Other times you get people come in and say, first thing they say is, what do you have that's new? Well, we just released this beer or that beer or whatever it was. And so you got a whole different group of clients that come in, want something different. Some of them traditionalists, some of them want the next new thing that you've done.
Are you still brewing for you, or are you brewing to what your customers want, or some combination of that?
I was going to say with the first two questions, yes and yes.
Yeah.
Which means it's a combination.
Yeah.
So you kind of answered my question for me. So thank you.
Yeah. I think that's.
So do you make a hazy?
I've made hazies. Not my favorite beers, and in part that might be because when I've made them, they just haven't turned out the way I want. So, I may do a little more research on that and work on it a little bit. I just came back from the East Coast. We were out there traveling, so had a few hazies there. I would say the ones that I had there were good. The ones I've had here were good, but not something that I would, necessarily seek out. So I do have a couple in that I got in cans and I brought back from some of the more prominent breweries there that I'm going to try and then see what I think of them after that. But I know there's a market for it. I know that is probably, I don't know, you guys would know better than I do, how much of that is the IPA market now. The hazies seem to, you go to breweries and they'll have 12 taps and they'll have 3, 4, or 5 of them on tap. All of them a little different, but...
Well, they're definitely not going away. We can all agree at this point it's a new sub-style that's here to stay.
Yep.
This is a common theme, it seems. There's stuff you want to do for you, but then there's the reality of owning a business that there's stuff you kind of have to do for the market.
Absolutely.
And that's just life at this point.
Yep.
I remember having 4 IPAs in Alabama last year. 2 I think were marked as hazy. Maybe they weren't. Maybe none of them were. Anyway, the point was I was going down the lineup looking for a clear West Coast, and they had 2 or 3 different subcategories on the menu, none of which were described as hazy, and yet everything was hazy. They were all subcategories of hazy at this point. Or at least that's where the market was in Alabama at the moment. So, yeah, you're right. There are pockets where it's synonymous with IPA. It has to look like the hazies look.
What's your best-selling beer?
Well, the ones we go through the most are, we have an American Red Ale, we call Little Red. We've gone through a lot of that. We do a Kolsch style beer, and let's see, which would be the other one? It's a borderline red IPA or American Red Ale. We call it Cleaver. It's right on the fringes of being an IPA or on the fringes of just being American Red Ale. That one is really popular. But a lot of the lighter stuff for the people that, that come in that aren't into the craft, they like that. But then during the, stuff that's seasonal, we'll sell a lot of IPAs or other darker beers that tend to be more prominent now as we get into the cooler months. Some ambers, things like that.
And just out of curiosity, when I go back down and go to your tent, what are you serving up?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, I got all, I mentioned it several times today, I have all lagers on tap. We've got
So you're sticking with the theme.
Sticking with the theme, yes.
You might be the one that brought only lagers.
Yep.
Everyone else brought at least 2.
Well, the one lager, let me finish on that.
Yeah.
Because, I did the Marzen beer, which is we call it Omega Fest. It's our classic Oktoberfest. Then I did the new Fest beer, which is also a popular Oktoberfest beer. And then the third beer that I brought is, we call it Chill Out, which is a cold IPA, basically done with lager yeast at lagering temperatures. And I know there's a whole lot of ways you can do a cold IPA. Some say you use the lager yeast at elevated temperatures. We started with, I'm more of a traditionalist. If I'm going to use a lager yeast, I'm going to do it at the right temperatures for the lager yeast, get a cleaner malt bill that way, malt flavors, and let the hops be the dominant flavors that you pick up through the beer.
How do the hops express at those temperatures? You're dry hopping at 50 degrees, or?
I was probably dry hopping at 40 degrees, and you can, or close to 40 to 45, I would say. But
like a cold steep. Like legit cold steep.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
It's cold and it's good flavor. You get the resin and pine is a little bit more subdued, but you get the classic flavors, the citrus, the mango.
So the oil's still infused. So, that's great. I haven't played with that in a while. We have a long time ago. I'd like to go back and revisit it. We were making cold IPAs before that was a thing, and now I need to go back and be relevant again. But I tend to be just almost relevant all the time.
Sounds like you were ahead of being relevant.
It's cyclical,
you were leading
isn't it?
The charge.
Yeah. Insult to injury is what that is. What's next before Gary closes us out here? What's next for you guys? What's your plan?
Right now I have our, which beer is it in? I've got one aging on some rye whiskey, oak chips, our Scotch ale. That's aging, and I'll be doing some more of those. Probably going to do another Vienna lager. We talked about that earlier outside.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do another Vienna lager. My goal is it's going to be the traditional Vienna lager, but I'm going to do a double batch, so that means I have to change things to get 2 barrels out of it versus a barrel. So,
but you're not opening a 100-barrel brew house and putting your house on the line and everything else to make an expansion, or are you? You're licking your lips like maybe you are.
No, that's not happening. Those days for me have gone. And like I said, this is more of a passion about brewing and doing things I want to do. You know, we talked about it earlier. More and more, I'm brewing the beers that I know will sell, but I still want to brew some beers that I want to brew and do those kinds of things.
One final question. How'd you pick the name Omega, and why do you call it a brewing experience rather than just a brewery?
Well, I'll answer the second question first, because I've always felt that whenever you go to a brewery, it's more about the experience than going to get a beer. Everything plays into when you walk out of that brewery after you've had one or two, as to what your opinion, what your thoughts were. Was it a good experience? Was it not a good experience? That kind of things. Obviously, the beer is the core of that, but there are things that can enhance that as a really good beer or be a distraction from sitting down and having a good beer. So that's kind of why we call it that. We don't have any TVs in there right now. I'm not saying we never will, but it's about, people getting together, talking about the beers they're having. We get people come in from Madison, from, we've actually had people from Germany in, and they sit across the table from locals or others that came in from other areas, and they generally will start talking about beers. They'll be making recommendations on what's on the tap list and what they might like to try, those kinds of things. So that's kind of the experience part of it. The Omega thing was by design, kind of evolved to I told you I did this as a retirement project, so it's kind of also means final destiny. So that was what I was figuring I would be doing, for a while after I retired out of the corporate world. It also happens to be the last letter of the Greek alphabet. We're not Greek, but our last name begins with a Z, so that fit as well. So
you must have been in marketing before this life. It seems like you've thought it all out.
No, didn't think of.
There's got to be an Alpha brewery out there. I think you could do a collaboration with them.
There is an Alpha brewery out. Yeah. It's about 5 hours straight north of here. I've been to it, but have not gotten in the door because they were closed when I happened to be in that area by coincidence. But there is an Alpha brewing up there in the UP.
Excellent. Well, that'll conclude this episode of Respecting the Beer. The producer of Respecting the Beer is David Kelso. Without David, there would not be a show. Please remember to check out the Facebook group to find out what's happening between the episodes and to join the to join the Patreon group, where you can find special beers available only to Patreon members. And until next time, please remember to respect the beer.